Well, okay, we have everyone here now, so I'll call this Executive Finance Committee December meeting to order at 8:33. I can verify that certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. You have a 15-item agenda in front of you. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any changes? All those in favor of adopting the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, when we got this notice, we got copies of the previous meeting minutes.
We'll hear that a lot. It's coming through the walls.
Move to approve the minutes of the previous, and we have a second. Anybody want to make any changes, corrections? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we do have a public comment period. Anyone that is watching this over live streaming, if you'd like to make a call, make a comment, the number you can call is 715-538-1770. We'll give you a minute or two here to call, and if you do want to call later, you certainly can. No, I don't.
He's on vacation. He's going to come back tomorrow. I thought that's strange because he's got 3 things on the agenda today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't see him up.
I don't see him on there.
I said he was gonna be in a place he wasn't easy to contact.
Las Vegas, I know.
Oh. Okay, we'll move on. Paulden, county sales tax update.
Our November payment was $206,695.30, which, if you notice, is about $20,000 higher than last year and the year before. So we're sitting at $1,910,600.68. We've got 3 more payments to receive, and if you look at the bottom, we have to hit $239,000 total for those 3, and we'll make our budget. So I think we'll be over budget again, so which is good in this case because it's revenues. Okay. Any questions?
I'll keep pulling in, Paul. I think you're
Well,
out there.
Black Friday will be this next one now. We'll see how that did. Sell. No, it's buy.
Okay. Let's see, general fund update.
Okay, the only change from last month is the application of the general fund to balance the 2022 budget. And so we are still sitting at $3,042,000 in our undesignated general fund.
Well, that's good also.
That is good because that plus up above there where it shows the desired unassigned for working capital is $2 million. So, yeah, we're sitting at still over $5 million total. That is, we actually did a resolution, I don't remember how many years ago. It's 25% of the general fund expenditures, budgeted expenditures. And so actually the auditors are the ones that calculate it. It's right, it's always in our financial statement. And so that's what that $2 million is right there, so.
Okay, any other questions for Paul? Either about the county sales tax or general fund? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our department reports, requests. Not anything, no one about Steve.
Well, his,
Oh, he's right behind it.
well,
Okay.
Steve's assistant is,
Okay,
Hi, everyone. My name is.
Why don't you come up
do
here?
you want
you
to,
can sit, yeah.
and then we'll turn on a
Okay,
mic.
let me.
Yeah, we can be on camera.
Thank you. How's it going?
I don't know if everybody even knows you yet.
Well,
Thank you.
No, I will definitely.
There you go. The good thing about this guy, he's a veteran too.
Right. I've had it here this morning.
Cool.
It's your first time, I'll do this. One free
One free
Sounds
push.
good. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Quakenboss. I work for Steve in the Veterans Office. I'll be replacing Dawn. Dawn's last day will be the 10th, so this Friday. We are going to be having a little get-together on Thursday for her. I believe it is going to be from 10 to 2. We did order some cupcakes and other little treats from Sweet Temptations down the road. So those will be delivered as well. We'll get that all straightened out for her.
Is that gonna be in the Wisconsin room or in the?
We'll probably just do it right in the Veterans Office, just kind of have a walkthrough throughout the day.
In there now. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for now, one of the other agenda items on here, we are going to be having the privacy wall put in there. Going to split up the office just a little bit. A lot of that was Steve's desire to have a more HIPAA-compliant office space. We're really hoping that's going to help kind of clear up some of the traffic in the hallway as well. We've had quite a few people who end up sitting out in the hallway while we're in a meeting inside, so we're hoping that opening that up, having then 2 private offices and then a waiting room, will make it so that people don't have to sit in the hallway anymore. Should help quite a bit with that backup traffic. Again, my name is Joe. I'm a veteran of the Army. I served from 2007 till 2013. I deployed to Iraq in 2008 to 2009. Served there in a combat capacity with a special ops unit operating in Baghdad. That was pretty much my go-to. After that, I ended up working a number of different jobs before I ended up working over at LHI in La Crosse for Don Weber, before he ended up selling the organization to Optum. Once Optum took over, I transitioned to the VA and was working
LHI is,
Logistics Health.
they sold.
Yep. Yeah, Don Weber sold LHI to Optum, so United
Are they still doing
Healthcare.
a significant amount of veterans work there?
They are. They hold currently the comprehensive pension exams for veterans, all of them, for the entire country, all 50 states. So they do the contracting, medical, and review of all documentation done by doctors in all 50 states. They've set up multiple areas throughout the entire country where they have clinics now built. I predominantly worked within Arizona, which is strange considering I live here. But I contracted and set up all of our RN staff, medical staff, MAs, and MDs who worked in Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff areas in Arizona.
Can I ask another question?
Go ahead.
My understanding was there was a significant mental health component that worked out of Logistic Health as well.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, the organization there, they have currently, one of the other contracts they have is the actual RHRP, which is the Reserve Health Readiness. They do all the mental health components, inbound calls for veterans who call the crisis line.
So the new outfit is still providing all those services?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I didn't know that, because they're a big presence in La Crosse.
They absolutely are.
Very big
yes.
presence.
Some of the other things here, just on our little working list here. Steve and I both attended the quarterly CVSO meeting on Friday. Just a lot of training and networking with some of the other CVSOs in Wisconsin that took place in Neillsville and Clark County. We did also go to the High Ground, the memorial site there, and we took quite a few pictures. We're hoping to get uploaded sometime today. Get those up on the site and do a little more of that media presence. We're really working on that. Already kind of touched on the office renovations, the Christmas donations for the Family Circle veterans. We're accepting both gift cards and cash donations when it comes to that. Deadline is 12/22, just to give us enough time to be able to get everything we need put together for that. One of the other big things Steve is pushing for is to be able to have a telehealth access in our veterans office. It's one of the other reasons we're really excited about having the wall put in, is that we'll be able to host veterans to come in and do their telehealth exams right on a tablet or a computer in the office with Toma. We feel like that would just be an absolute amazing thing for a lot of the veterans in the county who don't have access to reliable internet, that T1 connection that the VA really requires for telehealth exams. We're hoping to have that done probably beginning of 2022, just depending on when Toma can get back to us on getting the equipment we need. Training updates. Steve got his accreditation for the American Legion and VFW this year. They were all renewed. He has acquired everything else. And then I will be taking place in the accreditation process here coming up next year, early next year, hopefully. We'll get myself into a class, which I'm very excited about. The VA also has announced some new presumptive conditions related to burn pits. This is something that is kind of really close to home for me personally, being that I was there. These are things for Afghanistan and Iraq war veterans, which we're going to start seeing quite a few more of in the future here. But that will be the asthma, sinusitis, and rhinitis. So these presumptive breathing conditions that come from inhaling toxins from burn pits, things like that.
Stop there for a minute, Joe.
Absolutely.
I don't
Microphone.
understand. I'm not sure, I'm reading your outline carefully, and by the way, this is the first correctly formatted outline I have seen in 10 years.
He's a teacher.
Number, heading, subheading, each one delineated correctly, so congratulations on that. But the presumptive conditions establishes what is all that, what does that line mean? I don't get it.
So you have to be able to establish as a veteran, one of the most important things that you do when filing for a disability claim is establishing a diagnosis and a nexus of service. So why is it that this condition is linked to your military service? In this case, being deployed to the Middle East during the past 10 years of combat, we used a lot of burn pits in those areas, so it is presumptive nexus that because you were there, these conditions, if you have them, are probably linked.
What was a burn pit in?
So the burn pits were basically giant, think of it like a landfill, that the military and other organizations would just burn all the trash, diesel components, chemicals,
Bulldoze everything in the
everything into the middle and light it on fire.
Light it on fire, okay.
Yep. They did a lot of that with anything we found over there. If we couldn't keep it, we'd burn it. So a lot of that, especially on the major bases in like think of like Kabul airport, those areas, the large American bases that we had, all of our trash was destroyed that way. So all of our soldiers, all of our airmen, everything, we're breathing that in every single day for the whole length of their deployments. So the VA has now decided that because of that, we have a lot of veterans who are coming home with sinus issues, with asthma, things like that, that those are just presumptive conditions. Those are something that you'll be able to get disability for pretty easily as long as you can show that you were there when that was happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing on here is just the potential uses of our funding, things like that. One of the big pushes we have is for additional equipment, the medical equipment, wheelchairs, walkers, things like that. We are going through them very quickly. We're also having a lot of trouble with the equipment we already have. A lot of it is broken, missing certain pieces. So Steve wants to designate a small amount of money to try and fix that equipment we have so we can get that out into the community. We have quite a few areas of the community that are awaiting us to have some additional usable equipment. We're hoping to have that done pretty quickly here. The other thing is the veteran grave markers, flag holders, things like that. Steve wants to put in another order for the year. We will be working on getting that done. Also move towards more advertising, newspapers, coins, patches. Other promo items we're looking at, thinking about some other outreach events to try and bring in that younger veteran population. We know that there are a number of National Guard units from the county that have just recently returned. We're hoping that we can draw them in with some more advertising and get them to come in. Some of that we talked about just this last week at our CVSO meeting was putting together either a blood drive here in Whitehall or something like that to be able to link up with some of those younger veterans who have not yet decided they want to claim disability. And they are going, a lot of the times, they're using local funds, things like that, to just go to the doctor when they are eligible for VA healthcare. So one of our big initiatives is going to be to try and get the information from these younger veterans who are going to the doctor so we can get them enrolled in VA healthcare, because that would be a huge help for just the entire county when it comes to them going to see a private doctor compared to going to see the VA.
Especially if you connect that telehealth thing.
We're really hoping to get that set up. We talked really close with the vet center on Friday. The vet center runs some of those clinics that are more the mental health oriented. We're really hoping to kind of link up with them and the VA together and get that telehealth option in there for vets to just come in, walk right into the office. They can take my office or Steve's office, close the door, and have a private meeting with their doctor right there. A lot easier than trying to transport them all the way to La Crosse or to Toma. We're really, really hoping that goes through, because that would just be so awesome. Otherwise, just a little more additional training for Steve and I when it comes to our accreditation, advanced courses, and things like that. Steve wants to get us both into some more classes, so we're just right there on the pinnacle of being those subject matter experts when it comes to the VA stuff. And that is everything. Any other questions or anything else I can address?
Very good.
Nice report. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Oh, you arrived right on time, Steve. Yeah.
Maybe you should just say, any questions?
Any questions?
I think you found some good help there, Steve.
What's that?
You found some good help there.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Everything go well?
Yep, everything went very well.
You got an A+ on the outline. by the way.
Yes, yeah, that's for sure.
the future.
Gold star.
Oh, good.
Okay,
So
any other,
Excuse me, I did make a call and leave a message for Steve. If you're interested, if you're willing to come back later to talk about your request for ARPA funds.
Say when?
At the end of the meeting, it's the third from the bottom, I guess. So that way you could make the pitch to the whole committee.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go drop my stuff and come back.
yeah,
That'd be great. Thanks.
okay. Okay, nobody has heard anything from Rick then?
No.
And,
he's got 3 things on the
We've got these,
tax form.
yeah, these tax foreclosed parcels,
and I don't see him being up online.
He's gone somewhere, you know that he's gone to.
Yep. Okay, since he's not here, we'll move on to our next item, which is our general refund request from Tim. Tim, can you hear us?
Tim Robertson.
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you're up on the agenda. Talk about your general fund request.
Which one is this?
What did you say? We didn't understand you.
I'm sorry, my voice is a little,
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, he must have what I had last week. Great.
I'm sick. Hold on a second.
Unless you want to, Chuck, read the resolution.
Oh,
We only have one.
okay.
Is that better?
From property.
Yeah.
You got the other one.
Okay, this is the one that we haven't signed yet. Transfer of general fund to IT for Vesta system support. Is that the one we're talking about? Okay, we have a resolution in front of us to transfer from the general fund to IT for Vesta system support and maintenance. Whereas the Trempealeau County Communications Center requires the use of a Vesta 911 response system to accept communications, locate callers, and dispatch responders, and whereas the existing system was purchased with 5 years of prepaid support and maintenance for all components in 2016. And whereas that support agreement expired in October of this year with no funds available in the 2021 and 2022 budgets to renew the services. And whereas the estimated cost to renew the agreement for this critical production system is $15,554.89. And whereas purchase of this system support is essential to continued operations in the Trempealeau County 911 Communication Center. Now, be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors approved the transfer of $15,554.89 from the general fund to account 101.51450.210 for the purchase of the 2021 Vesta support and maintenance, introduced by Property Committee and Executive Finance Committee.
What was that amount again?
$15,554.89.
The sheriff is here. Were you going to talk about this?
I'm just here as support for Tim, that this is what we need. I just became aware of it, both of us did, so I really don't have anything additional to say.
Put him on a mic.
Yeah, put you on a
You
mic.
got
Come on.
a mic, Sheriff.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is to help Tim not speak if he doesn't have to.
Unfortunately, he knows a lot more about it than I do.
Yeah.
So,
But-
so Tim talked to me late last week about this. This was something that unexpectedly came up. It was what I believe was a 10-year contract that expired. 5-year contract that expired.
2016.
And it came to as kind of a surprise to us that this was out there.
Yeah.
So, and if I remember right, Tim kind of explained to me last Friday that this is support for the 911 phone system. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, this is the piece that makes it all work.
So, then that's all I know about it.
Is this a 5-year or just an annual thing?
Put your mic on.
I think this time it's just an annual.
Is this gonna be for 5 years again, or just an annual cost?
This would be an annual cost.
Okay.
So this will have to go into the budget on an
Yearly.
annual basis.
Would
Yeah,
this-
I will have to make another resolution in 2022 because it was not included in my 2022 budget.
Okay, any other questions for Tim?
I don't have a copy of the resolution, so
I have a comment, though.
go ahead. You-
Tim.
Maybe it'll help. This matter came before the property committee last week, and the property committee has approved this already. I don't have the resolution in front of me. But Tim was in better voice, Tim Robertson was in better voice last week, and he explained it in detail. For me, the significant factor was the fact that the IT department did not know this was coming. We were not notified by the company that the contract was about to expire. So that's why it was not included in the budget, but it does need to be funded. Is that correct, Tim?
Thank you, Tim.
Okay.
So my question had to do, when you say this is what makes the whole thing work, we have, it's been a while since I've been a first responder, but as I understand it, we have an enhanced 911 system, but we also now have the capability of locating calls on cell phones and so forth. So not just landlines, but what part of this is it actually makes this work? Does this track the calls? Does it show the location? Does it? Tim, can you enlighten me a little bit?
It's the interface between the phone lines and all the communications. It's a PC, and it's what allows it to dispatchers to interact with those phone calls and do everything necessary to make those relocates and whatnot.
Okay, so it does help with the mapping, and the location, and so forth.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but
Okay.
that goes on in the background. This is the interface for the dispatcher and then for the public safety software system into the phone calls themselves.
All right, I understand better now. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Tim
Did we have a motion?
or for the sheriff?
I would move to approve if we.
Okay,
have a
yes.
motion
Second it.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve this transfer of funds from the general fund. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, I've got the, yep, I stop it, and so I'll pass this around. And then Dick and Tim, you can also sign for the property committee.
I think we already did.
Because you guys.
We
No,
said-
we-
This is the one that
we didn't-
have.
we didn't
This
have it.
resolution
We didn't have a
Tim sent
copy
it
of
to
this.
me and,
Okay, John, here, and the exec finance is on the second page of that.
Okay.
Okay. Vesta Systems Support,
that's already done.
okay, and
The
then,
other resolution you did get.
okay,
Yep.
and this one was signed, yep, okay. So we also have a resolution, I'll read that for you, to transfer from the general fund to IT for the Equiture recording solution. Whereas the Trempealeau County Communications Center requires the use of a recording logging system to record conversations for auditing, quality assurance, and training purposes. And whereas the existing solution is out of date, running on unsupported operating systems, and unable to interface effectively with key components. And whereas the existing out-of-date logging system cannot be used effectively with ProQua for the critical auditing function, and whereas the estimated cost to secure a replacement logging solution from Equiture that meets current and future needs is $49,825.55. And whereas purchase of this system will greatly assist in the modernization of the 911 Communications Center. Now, be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors approves the transfer of $49,825.55 from the general fund to account 101.51450.210 for the purchase of the Equiture logging system, co-introduced by the Executive Finance Committee and the Property Committee, and that was acted on last week by the Property Committee.
Move to approve just to get it on the table.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
And we have a second. Any questions or discussions? Tim, you'll be taking questions for this again also?
Sure.
So, Mr. Chair, the
Go
question
ahead.
is, this is a one-time expenditure?
Well, until we need the equipment
Well,
updated again, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a yearly or an annual thing. Go ahead, Tim.
This is including support. I believe this includes 5 years of support up front. So that somewhere in 2026 or 27, I'll have to include a portion of the budget of this total expenditure. I suspect the total cost for the equipment itself and the software is around $35,000. So you take 15% of that, and that's probably going to be your annual support down the road.
Thank you.
So you will need some money next year again? No, that'd be
he
for
said
5
5
years,
years.
yep.
Yep.
Okay, yep, so then you can start budgeting for it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions or comments regarding this transfer?
Just one,
Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman.
Tim.
It's not a question, it's a comment. I do have to note that these two requests will bring the general fund below $3 million. We always watch the general fund, don't we, George?
Yes, yes, we do.
Can I comment?
So, ask the chairman.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
So, without saying for sure, I do believe that I will come in under, in my 2021 budget, enough to cover that if that would be an avenue you'd want to pursue.
But your budgeting is always exemplary, Sheriff. But for the moment, I just want to note that.
Yep,
We just
yep.
lowered it a little bit further.
Okay, and I'm just throwing it out there.
Yep.
And the property committee did express concern about projects emerging post-budget and I'm gonna bring that up at the next department head meeting. We're gonna have to figure out who's responsible for technology projects that are brought before the committee, for project initiation forms. Sometimes the departments do it, sometimes IT does it. I think we need to set a clear understanding so we're not missing things like this that were important needs over the last 2 years and it just never got to the budget process.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one more question.
Go ahead, George.
This is for the sheriff. It's mentioned in the resolution that this recording function allows for training and quality assurance and so forth. Is there a regular opportunity for dispatchers to listen back to calls and sort of monitor how they handle them and improve their communication and so forth?
Yes. There was a feature, I don't know if it is still in there now, there was a feature where they could previously listen to the last half hour traffic at the push of a button. They wouldn't have to research it, go into a computer and look for time frames and all that. But they do have that ability to review calls, any call at any time. I just don't know how quickly that can happen.
Well, I do, and I assume it also is very helpful if you're preparing sheriff-type related cases in terms of charging people and knowing where the calls were at what time and so on and so forth.
Yes, it's a very important evidentiary piece for us that we present.
Thank you for the word that just was not coming to my mind. Evidentiary, yes.
So as far as the quality control, the real driver of this is that Pro QA dispatch software that the county board just purchased for us. That is up and running now, and that has to have that quality assurance piece to it, and that's what this provides. So that the call takers can use previous calls to train on for future events. That's really where that language came from. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, any other questions? So we've got a motion and a second to approve this transfer. Any other last-minute questions or comments? Okay, so all those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, let me sign this.
I think property already signed that one, right?
Yep, this one has all our signatures on the second page. Okay, here you go, John, and you can pass that down. Okay, our next two items are going to be mute items.
Look it up there, and I don't see it.
I don't see anything from Rick. Both of them deal with the foreclosed parcels that we talked about last week. They must have had some bids on them, I'm assuming, or rebidding it talks about.
It would all come to Rick, so.
Yeah. Well, we've been waiting for the tax. We've been waiting for the taxes on them for years, so another month, I'm sure, is not gonna cause any problems. Okay, so moving on to item 12 then, discussion action regarding our ARPA funds.
You want to start or should I?
I think I'm gonna wait until 13 for my talking.
Oh,
Okay?
It was mentioned in the wonderful outline from the Veterans Office that Steve is waiting for, what was his phrase? Internal guidelines are established for applying for the funds, and inasmuch as the Exec Finance Committee has tasked me with sort of rounding up potential uses of the funds and making those presentations, there is no internal guidelines other than let us know what you want the money for, and this is the committee that'll make that decision. What I'm beginning to realize through phone calls and emails and so forth is folks want an application to fill out. And I've actually gotten written applications. Paul sent me the one from the Gunderson Lutheran system. Steve has sent me one. And I just have to say, that we don't have an application process, but tell us what you need. So what I'd like to hear from the committee is, we'll listen to what Steve has to say, and just help me to understand what I can say to other people in terms of how these decisions are going to be made. Even since last month now, the legislation about freeing up the guidelines, or diminishing the guidelines for how ARPA funds can be used statewide, the state or from the federal regulations have moved ahead. The infrastructure bill was passed, so.
Maybe I do have to jump in.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. In regards
Mike,
to the
please.
In regards to the ARPA funds, there's a bill that was introduced by the Senate, I guess, out in Washington, and they passed it immediately. Then it was S3011, about the being under 10 million would make everything lost revenue. The Congress has not voted on that yet.
Man, I thought that was fast track.
No, it wasn't. I've been in contact with Ron Kine's office, and the Congress has not passed that yet. It's stuck in Congress right now. So that $10 million isn't in effect yet.
Okay, so currently, we're operating under the original ARPA
Yep.
rules in terms of the 4 major areas of where the money can go. So last month, we heard from our economic and development, tourism and economic development person on broadband. And Steve has been really good to send us some information about what it is the Veterans Office could use the money for. And I guess let's go back to my original question. After Steve's discussion, let's have a talk about when and how we make these decisions, okay? Because the money's in the bank, half of it is in the bank, and if we decide, based on the guidelines from the federal government, from the Department of Treasury, that it fits the guidelines, can we make that decision? Like, could we make it today? Could we make it next month? And is this the committee that is the end decision maker, or do all these decisions have to go to the county board? So basically, I'm getting people, because Paul keeps sending them to me, asking, where are the forms? What are the guidelines? How do we know? And so this is the discussion I'd like to have after we hear from Steve.
I'd like to do this first, because it makes, can I address that?
Go ahead,
John?
Tim.
Please.
Because I think, asking Steve to come up here and make his presentation after we, all right, I think that would be backwards. And
Okay,
this will
go
be
ahead.
brief. This will be brief. There's been so much indecision, so we still don't know. I think the basic question is, will all the ARPA funds be freed up for everybody, or for any use? And that's a rumor that's been going around.
Months.
Or not. And until we know that, we can't create any kind of application form, or we can't set parameters or guidelines. So I think we're better off just doing what we're doing right now, which is, we heard a effective presentation from, I forget the guy's name, Bucks, it was Tri-County Communications, and today we'll hear
Buck
something.
Webb.
Buck Webb, thank you, Tim. So we heard a good presentation from him. I think the best this committee can do is listen to these various presentations, because how can we set guidelines when we don't have guidelines?
So in other words, we can take the requests right now.
Right.
And put them in a folder until we find out.
Yeah, it's kind of a mental folder right now, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I just throw?
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
And,
please.
and the feds still have not formalized that final interim decision on how funds can be spent. They still haven't finished that.
And we can't do anything till they do.
And George saying that the money is in the bank is kind of misleading. It's not in, it may be in the bank, but is it earning interest?
Yes,
It's
yes.
sort of, it's more of like an escrow, is the way I see it. It's, you might be able to get it at some time in the future if you fulfill a variety of conditions. Well, we don't know what the conditions are.
We did get half of our allocation, so we were supposed to get 5.7, and we've got 2.8 million in the bank, drawing interest.
So I am accurate in saying it is in the bank.
It's,
But it's not, we cannot go to the bank and withdraw it.
And this is exactly the
Yeah,
discussion I
I
was
think
hoping
that-
That's
to
what I
get
mean,
going
you know.
here.
Until that interim
Right.
rule is finally decided.
So Steve, we can't come up with a form because we don't know what the rules are. But we do want to hear what it is that people could use that money for that would fit within the parameters of the sort of general outline. So,
Okay, if you could move up to a mic.
go up to the podium, actually.
Yes, that would probably be a good place. And press the button so the red light comes on. There we go.
All right, good morning. Sorry for my tardiness this morning. My son had a dentist appointment, and you can imagine for a 5-year-old, that's not a quick one, but it went all right. So the list I gave you guys before and what I emailed George, these are just typically things that I need every year that we don't have the money for. And as far as, I wrote DME, which is durable medical equipment. All of our wheelchairs are donated, all of our equipment's donated. So wheelchairs, the walkers, everything's repaired by myself. Parts for these things come out of my budget if I have it, or donations. Most of the stuff we have is either missing equipment or, I make it work for people most of the time. They're all fairly old, everything we have. So what I would propose is to order between 10 and 20 wheelchairs, and I found some durable ones online for around 150 a piece. They come with the leg rests and everything.
$150.
Amazon.com, man. Yeah, I was surprised. But even from medical supply stores, I talked to one of them, and $250 you're talking for what they charge, but they always upcharge.
Steve, what does DME stand for again?
Durable medical equipment.
Durable medical equipment.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's just something that like right now we're out of wheelchairs. They're all loaned out, or we don't have parts to replace on the ones we have. So we started loaning out to the community as well, non-veterans, civilians. I don't care who it is. If they're a person in need, I'm gonna help them if I can. So we've been loaning out to civilians. Our process right now is for them to sign just kind of a release saying we'll bring it back within a certain amount of time in the same condition it's in, and if not, we'll talk about maybe a donation to help us repair it. Most people are okay with that. We just call them after a while, ask if they're still using it. Some come back, some don't. Some people never answer the phone. I'm not too worried about it. It's people in need. So within reason, I want to get the stuff back. Item B was care for veterans' graves. That's something I order $2,000 to $3,000 worth annually, and that's flag holders and flags. Flags is a reoccurring, we're always going to have that. Flag holders, unfortunately, I'm going to need more and more of those every year, especially with the Vietnam veterans population upcoming. Sorry, John.
Limited time here.
Yep. So I'll be ordering more and more. And with the pandemic, they're even harder to get right now. Our lag time in the past was 2 weeks. Now it's 6 months because they're made of bronze and brass and those kinds of things. So other than care for veterans' graves, that's about it. Advertising, we don't do a whole lot of advertising right now, but I've been trying to get into the Tri-County papers. We do order coins every year to hand out to veterans at their first time they come in and see us. First time they file a claim or get benefits checks, we give them a coin. It seems to be a popular thing. It's a big part of military culture. I'd like to do patches and just other promo items that people can hand out, spread the word, get us some advertising. There's a lot of people in the county that still don't know we exist, so I think that's an easy way to do it. When I've posted things in the paper, I get a lot of calls. So they're gracious enough, if it's a public service type announcement, they don't charge me. But I'd still like to run maybe a weekly or a monthly article I can write about things I see in the VA that are upcoming that I want people to know about, things like that, and that'll cost. Or even just a reoccurring, call us, these benefits are available, that kind of thing. Item D is training for staff, which we don't really have much of a budget for, so I wanted to get Joe accredited with as many organizations as I can. I've talked to you all about advanced leadership courses in the past as well. I haven't got any price difference on that, even with, they don't really do a group discount. They said if we can get funded by or sponsored by an organization, maybe they could cut $100 off, which doesn't really help the bottom line. Because that course I spoke with you about before is, I think, $1,600 each. So that'll have to wait for another time. And then mental health and suicide prevention training, as you can imagine, is a hot topic these days with veterans especially. And the VA doesn't offer that to us for free. So the training we have is what we had in the military. So I'd like to get the both of us through at least some basic classes so that we can have a better set of tools to notice the signs and symptoms and how to respond and who to contact and how to talk people down. I think it's a very needed thing. So, and then after that, yeah, I'd said the thing about internal guidelines because I knew there wasn't anything at the time. You've explained that already, so I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have.
I've got one.
Go ahead, Tim.
Steve, so if you add all those items together, what's your total budget? What would be your total request?
It would really depend on if we approved everything or partials, of
Put them all
course.
together.
If it was everything, probably between $5,000 and $6,000, I would say.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions for Steve?
I appreciate you being ready to come down at moment's notice. to do
Anytime.
that. And we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
As we find more guidelines, we will pass it along. Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, anything else with ARPA funds?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was gonna say, well, as long as you're in the chair.
go ahead.
So I have, I did send Paul early on here, just a few months back, I did send Paul a notice of an intent to make an application for ARPA funding as well. I don't know if you saw it or not yet, but,
I think, oh, I thought I did send it to you.
so
I'll check.
So, I thought, and it appears that we probably do have a little bit more time. I'm working with our radio provider for basically a formal quote. Our radio tower system is at its end of life, basically. We're relying on used parts right now. They can't get new parts anymore for it. And we've got this in an annual review, and it's at its end of life right now. So they are preparing a quote for me to present at January's Exec Finance Committee, what it would take to get our system up to where it would be. Baycom is our current maintenance and vendor for the tower system. They're the ones that put it up. They're the ones that we have a maintenance contract with for the last 10 years. So it entails equipment there's 7 sites with towers, and each site has what they call a doghouse. And it's the equipment in each doghouse that has to be replaced. So, and we've also talked about some vulnerabilities with our radio system that this will address as well. And I don't want to talk about that in open session, but, and then there are some other pieces that come with it. It'll be pied out in a proposal, but there'll be a minimum to a maximum consideration for the county board. Anywhere from $350,000 all the way up to perhaps $1.4 million. So I'll do a formal proposal with a project initiation because of the size of this. So.
All right. And
Go ahead, Tim.
That sounds very infrastructure to me.
Yep. Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
I'd like to shed a little more light on this. The sheriff brought this up about at least 2 years ago as a very high priority item. And I remember at that time also I don't know, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? At that time, this was a very high priority item, but the sheriff, I believe it was Brett, that you made the decision to defer this request because at the same time we were simultaneously negotiating or planning for the jail construction. I think the sheriff decided that was just too much to ask of the board. So this is not new. It's actually 2 years. The request or the necessity is at least 2 years old. So I guess I would urge the board, this committee, to consider this seriously because the problem has been in existence for at least this long. And it was, I very clearly remember all the discussion and everything about it. Some of this, though, just a sort of related comment, until we know what parameters we're operating under, we cannot make any kind of allocation. It'd be hard to in any way portray this as preventing COVID or preventing future spreads of COVID. Yes, it's a real necessity, but up to this point, everything we've been working on is try to find some reason to allocate the funds because it would prevent the spread of COVID or any kind of communicable diseases. So that decision about whether we're going to be bound by COVID preventative uses of this money or we're going to be able to use the money for virtually anything, that whenever we cross that divide, then we'll know, but we don't know right now.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, George.
When the ARPA funds came out originally, there was a one-page sheet with 4 headings related to how it can be spent. And one of them was public health and COVID prevention and addressing the issues related to COVID, including lost revenue on the part of counties. Then as you went through the other 3, I remember distinctly, I think it's even in my folder, is the last one had to do with infrastructure, because they were combining underserved communities, infrastructure, COVID-related stuff, and education, or what, I can't remember what the 4th one was. But this definitely comes with, to my mind, comes within the realm of an infrastructure upgrade, or necessary infrastructure. So very much like the broadband does. And in spite of my dislike of technology, I understand how absolutely incredible it is, or important it is for people to have access to the internet and to communication and all the other things.
This wasn't internet, this isn't internet, this is radio.
No, I understand, but it's it's part of, I'm sort of working in the broadband thing. It's part of the new infrastructure reality that I may not be part of, but everybody else seems to be. So I'm very much aware of that.
When I think the general consensus, what I've been hearing on the news is the restrictions are becoming less and less on these ARPA funds. It almost sounds, some of it, I hate to say it, but I'll spend it whatever you want to spend it on. Is that kind of what the trend has been in that direction?
Some of that may be wishful thinking too, trying to force Congress to move in that direction. The difficulty with that is, in my mind, and again, why it is I'm pushing this committee to hear all of these options, is the possibility of just folding it into the general fund, and then it disappearing. And I'd prefer that this once in a generation opportunity be taken. My preference.
Go ahead, Tim.
Chuck, yeah, and I don't know if they're, I don't want to one-up you, George, so we've heard 1, 2, 3 this would be, I would call this a 3rd presentation, or 3rd request for ARPA funds. There is another one which I think the person would make this committee should be aware that last week, Thursday, the property committee was faced with a decision about the building project. And I don't know how widespread the knowledge of that decision is, but we heard a I wouldn't call it a presentation. Kurt Berner, the head engineer, project manager, was on the phone, and he said that despite all he can do in terms of allocating bids, the project would be about $1 to $1.5 million short of the original bond request. The committee made the decision to make up that shortfall from the bond that was allocated for renovation of the old building. And that was one of 3 possibilities, so that was a conscious choice on the part of the property committee. I don't know if there are any. Jeremy warned us about repercussions, and there may be more. Kurt is going to be talking to the full board in 2 weeks to explain what's going on. But another possible use, if we're going to free up the money for virtually anything, would be to use it to either offset, put some segment of the ARPA money into the new building to finish the new building without having to take money from the second bond issue. So I'd call that request number 4. The property, there's about, I guess I'm kind of speaking for, actually Dan Schreiner is the one who brought that up, but I'm repeating his ideas and the property committee agreed. So that's where we are on that. That's another request.
That idea is out there.
Is it out there already?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think everyone's very much aware that because of the price of materials, labor, and other things that have happened related to the building project, that it's over budget, and we're going to have to deal with it at some point.
Well, we dealt with it by taking money from the other bond, but of course that leaves that bond short, that project short.
Go ahead, George.
Just general inflation.
Oh, that too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing they can do about it. And I guess they asked about rebids. Well, if we rebid, they might go up, so obviously that wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, we.
But I do see La Crosse County now, for what it's worth, is talking, and I don't know if they don't know why they're doing that, but they're talking about buying a building for homeless with that money.
Oh, a hotel, yeah.
So an advantage if we did put some of it into our renovation of this building, it would affect everybody. It would help everybody if they're not gonna get the reservation. That this would be a plus to all the departments, other than sheriff, I guess.
Yeah, he's already getting it.
Okay, anything else on our FEMA funds?
Well, that was the ARPA fund.
That was
Well,
ARPA. We're gonna be
okay.
coming to FEMA now.
okay. Okay, are we done with ARPA then?
I'm gonna say kinda, sorta.
Okay, so now you're gonna talk about FEMA?
Okay, last week was the deadline to get our first submission, I guess what you'd call it, for FEMA. I haven't found out from the sheriffs how much your part of that was, but the county's part was $615,000, and FEMA has been whittling away from that and putting down stuff that they don't think is going to be eligible. We're actually down to $259,000, which means $356,000 FEMA is not going to cover. And if that's the
Stuff
case,
that's already been spent.
that we've spent, taken out of the general fund to expend on, well, if you look at, the general fund thing, it says that this is just, the x-ray machine, the TV studio cameras, the things like that are here, and the things that we did last year also that came out of the general fund. I guess this is going to be request number 5 then, Tim, if, to cover those $356,000 that we are not going to get from FEMA. It's been a real hassle working with them, even though Integrity is doing it on our behalf. It's really been a hassle.
May I comment?
Go ahead.
The way I understand it is, they're down to that 200 and some thousand that it sounds like they're gonna approve, but we're still working on the possibility of recouping those other costs. And, that body scanner piece alone, I'm confident we're gonna get that yet, but we have to they keep asking for more and more information. So, I don't think we're dead in the water yet, but they are, I think they try to stall knowing that certain entities will just give up eventually, but we're not.
Sort of an appeals process for that?
Yes, Integrity is going to actually turn around and resubmit all of those things that FEMA has technically denied. But, and then they'll want, because when I talked to Megan Marks just recently, she said, when they put that in, they're going to ask a formal request of why they were denied in the first place.
No, you haven't received any of that money. That's what they
None.
say.
No.
And
No,
that'll be
'cause-
just general fund money when it comes in, correct? Because it's spent.
Right, because that's where it was spent out of.
Okay, anything else regarding FEMA? So you don't know much.
Well, I know 259,000 probably we will be getting, because the deadline was last Tuesday, the 30th. So,
When do you anticipate that check then? No idea.
no idea. No idea.
Does that 259 include Integrity's fee?
No, Integrity's fee is separate, and that's going to be an interesting thing too, because they will submit that to FEMA for reimbursement, but we have to pay FEMA, Integrity first, so they show that the expense for Integrity is there. Then they will submit, and then they get reimbursed by FEMA.
So at this point, everything Integrity has done has been pro bono?
Basically, yes. Yep.
A lot of work.
Yeah, the last thing that we had to do last Monday was the latitude and longitude again of the healthcare center annex because that's where the COVID testing was taking place. So we had to, but our land records is a fantastic office. They came right up with the latitude and longitude to the 5th decimal point. So we got it in on time so that they could submit it on that 30th.
It's unbelievable, all this stuff. You know, you, for that Dropbox, it's gotta be exactly where it's
Yeah,
located.
the latitude and longitude, even of the land management office, because we remodeled that. That was one of the things that was turned in. Yeah, latitude and longitude to the 5th decimal. Huh? Gotta
Well,
love
it gets
it.
down to, what, a few yards on the ground, I suppose.
I suppose almost inches.
Inches or millimeters, yeah.
Okay, anything else regarding FEMA? And you'll keep us up to date on that then? Okay, our next item to set our next meeting, time and date. The 3rd is, January 3rd is a Monday.
Another month.
Oh, gee, yeah, we haven't.
January 3rd, yeah.
Is that when we want to go? 8:30 fine?
That's fine.
Okay, so January 3rd at 8:30.
And then I have some of these, I'll have to talk to Rick and find out if he'll have to do it next month.
Yeah.
Sure, for the tax foreclosures. And maybe he wasn't.
Rick is just down the area?
Yeah, he went on vacation and actually gave me the wording and everything for number 10 and 11 on here. And then it was his month for his update. He gave me all the information, so I got it right on the agenda. But he said he's not coming back till tomorrow. I go, wait a minute. So that's why I've been watching the camera up there to see if maybe he got, did it by.
Just so
He
he's not,
got sent WebEx also, so.
just so he's not on the wrong time schedule in Las
Is
Vegas.
Well, it would be an hour.
Yeah, an hour.
difference.
Yeah,
No, he would have been on now
Now,
because
yeah,
it's
but-
8:30 out there.
yeah, so. Okay, anything else before we adjourn? Okay, so I'll adjourn the meeting then at 9:35.